got some invades. Mid game, hey, we got a pyro, hey, we got a gold. And late game, hey, this means this is our fire giant fight. They all stack on top of each other, and so a really, really important adjustment for them as a team. And like Ducky had said, that's kind of what they need to work on the most.
Ducky will hate this. You got the 2 right, Gore. You got the 4 right. It was a 6 instead of a 0.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, I saw a lot of curvature.
The little swoopy tail there looks very, very similar at a glance. Yeah, Duck had his moments, but
we can pretend. Ducky, I got you.
I'm gonna close my eyes.
That was a 0.
If I squint and look at his KDA, it does look like 2-0.
I don't know about you. I draw my 0 with a diagonal line through it, and that kind of, if you erased part of it, would be almost like a 6.
I do that with my 7s, and that's the only number that
Do you do it with the letter Z?
No.
Oh, my Z's have a line, my 7s have a line, my 0s have a line, and that's because if you write like 0 theta, it was so obnoxious sometimes. I don't know why you'd have 0 theta. There were a lot of zeros, a lot of numbers. Math was a pain, bro.
You know who does have a 0? The Hounds in the win column for this set. And they need to get things
like
going here.
Just call it out, why don't you?
Look, I had to. They go 3 against the Ravens, and so they've at least won a game here in the SPL. Looking for that first set win could happen here in game number 2 against the Oni Warriors. CERN, first locked in, has been prioritized by both teams now relatively early on.
Yep.
The Morrigan, Hebo, Nox banned out on one side. Izanami Gore.
Wow.
Now, for the second time, been prioritized. Saw Izo once yesterday, if I remember correctly. And then plus Terra over in the duo. So, should already be decent amount of push potential in the duo lane for the Oni Warriors between an Izanami and a Terra.
Yeah, here's the thing, though.
Tell me.
We're seeing a lot of Kernanos, a lot of Ishtar, a lot of Marty.
Yep.
I don't know that you needed to grab your Izanami that high up.
Yeah.
Granted, it's the Warriors, right? So those bottom 3 picks could be quite literally anything. And so it feels like just get your duo lane into a comfortable spot, and then you get to be the wild cards that you are towards the last 3 picks. I mean, you know, mostly certain, and we've seen it in the past, right? Netroid does a really good Izanami. Jake, as you had mentioned, Terra at least is not only really, really solid right now, but with the extra prots instead of healing that you get on the Monolith, it feels like it'll be pretty good into some of the picks on the other side. Plus all the body blocks that we've seen a Terra capable of. And it's one of those things where it's like, do you need to get the Izanami first pick? Probably not. But I also know they're going to lock in something absolutely wild in these bottom 2. And it's going to throw us all for a loop, and in that case, the Izanami needs to be higher up.
Look at the discussion. That is a grouping of minds for the Oni Warriors. I guess you have to group. I was trying to read whatever Oxy has on his notepad there, but there's literally so much written down, and it's all so small. It looks, honestly, coach of the Oni Warriors, Oxy, his notepad looks similar to like when you're told that you get one cheat sheet for a test in college,
and you just squeeze as much as you can
on the one page. Got a lot of information there, and this Oni Warriors team, who knows how many different types and styles of drafts that they've got.
And the thing is he's got like 50 pages
that's all
of just
page.
That.
Yeah, it's an impressive feat in the Sony Warriors team. Again, they've got a lot to discuss, right, because they have so many different styles of drafting that we've seen so far this year. They won the kickoff tournament, now looking to go 2-0 in their debut of this roster in Season 10 of the Smite Pro League. Benny Q, either deep in thought, deep in despair, a little of both maybe, after the way that Game 1 went. I'm sure you liked trying the Atlas mid, but did not quite hit the stride that he was looking for. A couple jungle bans for both teams in the second wave. Remember, those support-centric bans. But we assume with a Hell and a Terra that both teams have their supports already locked in. Bakasura letting you know just exactly how he's going to win the game. Locked in for the Oni Warriors. So hyper late game carry potential now for Panatom, who's already had a good start to this set.
You say that, but I have flashbacks to the kickoff tournament where the Baka got pretty hands-on pretty early in the game. And that's something I wouldn't be surprised to see. I mean, to the point where it snowballed so quickly. Camping outside of the base, running around without a care in the world. It was absolutely a just domineering force for the team. And so it definitely has a lot of opportunity. Like you said, worst case scenario, if things don't go well in the early game, and then you're just a late game hyper carry. Best case scenario, things go incredibly well in the early game, and you have that little bit of a mix. The other thing I think that's worth pointing out for the Warriors, and we've seen Hades solo more often than not. The thing I'm curious about, and we were looking at this, I think it was a couple days ago we saw some Hades being played. And it left a kind of sour taste in my mouth, because like, if you go back to before the healing changes, then you could build pretty much full damage Hades solo, take 80% of your health bar, splash a fear out, hit your 3, and then you're back to 70, 80% of your health, right? Like, you drop down dramatically, but then you heal up just as dramatically. You're not healing up as dramatically anymore. And you've got a Terra beside you, so maybe that's going to help with some of the prots, but there's really a lot, I think, that it left me wanting more. Maybe it was just the game that it was in, and maybe it was a bad matchup, but I guess we'll find out here. I honestly wouldn't mind if it was going mid. I think this is a team that could run it mid if they really wanted to. I don't know if it fits in my head the style that Pagon likes to play, but sometimes you just want to jump in and splash damage as much as you possibly can. Hades does that. Pillar of Agony's really good, although it's not that big game changer sometimes. It's really the setup for someone like the Bakasura. So ultimately, probably solo. Maybe Sot's going to kind of win me back over on the Hades pick. But the other day, it left me a little shaky overall.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of want to... it's a heat check, how good the Hades is still after the changes.
Plenty of fire on the other side. The Pillars of Agony on one side. The Pillars of Agony on the other. Tiamat, the final pick for the Oni Warriors.
You're proud of yourself.
Oh, I'm not proud of myself. No, I'm not proud of myself. I said it, and that was
well,
literally
okay.
it. I
I'm
said
proud
it
of you.
with no gusto, no confidence. Tiamat will finalize the draft here for the Oni Warriors. And so it looks like more standard of a composition, you know, albeit the Izanami low pick rate, Bakasura low pick rate, but outside of that, seems like a pretty standard mindset from the Oni Warriors.
Yeah.
CERN, Hell, Guan Yu, Agni, Nem. You talked a bit about healing gore. Both teams have got a bit in their compositions. So I imagine anti-heal is going to be prioritized by the carries, by the mages.
Yeah.
In all likelihood, maybe the junglers of both these two teams. Because we do. I mean, look, healing still works, right? I mean, you can still sustain up. It's a bit different maybe than it was before, but both teams have the opportunity to sustain up and deal with some of the poke that the other team's got. And
it's good to see, right, that you know, like items like Divine Rune is still pretty solid in the meta right now. So for Agni, for the Tiamat, presumably, it should be a pretty simple item to scoop up. It's some of the other anti-heal that maybe is going to bring some questions. Terra as well, like, again, Hades, maybe I'd have to go look at the items and stuff in that game, as well as locking down which game it exactly was, but did not seem to be getting as much as he should have. And so maybe there's the question of whether or not that you need as heavy anti-heal. I mean, this could just be, what, for Guan Yu, maybe you want to just Tainted Steel early on, right? A little bit of anti-heal on that, and that can evolve pretty heavily for you late game. Something that they're at least going to be able to wiggle around on. I really like what the Hounds have as a draft, though. And so if you look at this team, you look at this comp, I think you've got a lot that is very capable of burning through a lot of the tankiness that's on the Warriors side, as well as really setting him up. I mean, Agni, the amount of damage we've been seeing out of him lately has been absolutely insane. And now you're combining that with a Talu Assault in the late game, as well as the Nimbus Assault. I mean, I think the Hounds just have so much that is going to go for it. It's all going to come down to the team fight, though, right? Because the comp, it can look great in a team fight. Can they play it to that level? That's the question that they've kind of asked themselves today. And so far out of the games we've seen, the answer has not been yes.
Yeah, look, this is an Oni Warriors team. Pagon kind of joked. He walked in, and I was like, Pagon's going to be a 2-0 today. And he said, I don't know. I've been really liking the viewership that my POV stream has been getting. I might want to bump it to 3. We'll see if the viewership wins the day or if the Oni Warriors grab themselves a 2-0 in Game 2 with J-Mac and Trelly.
Thank you so much, Dave and Gore. Game number 2 between the Warriors and the Hounds kicks off right now. It's J-Mac, Trelly, and Doug to bring the action for that game. Maybe one thing that I kind of want to at least kind of start as maybe a topic here, Charlie. I talked to Ducky at the beginning. I asked him, what are some of the things you want to change from yesterday's set to today? Because we watched up against the Ravens, a very rough early game for the Eldritch Hounds more than anything. Never really got the momentum rolling at any point in the early game. Only really capitalized in one of the games around that mid-late game team fight. But at least in game number 1, we saw the Eldritch Hounds being a little bit more proactive on the map, finding some of those early kills, getting that early pressure. It was just that mid-game tumble that they had up against the Warriors.
Can I just say, every time we spectate the order side jungler, it's just so peaceful because we just get the calming waterfall sounds. Yeah, just, it feels like we're on vacation.
That is really calming.
Yep, it's nice. And then
now I want to be a jungler just so I can start there every game.
Well, only Oath gets that this time, and it's a nice way to start the game because carnage is about to ensue. That's the last relaxation we're going to see. If this game is anything like game number 1, it's going to be blinks in at level 2. In this case, Oath and Panatom both do have blinks, but notably, a little bit less aggressive on these picks. I mean, you've got some burn potential with the Wing Shard early on Baka, but it's really just Oath who would want to get aggressive before level 5, unless you get a golden opportunity to find a leap in and really get some of those Butcher Blade auto attacks off. So I imagine that's probably not going to be the call. And Pacon once again forced to beat!
Oath dives under tower. Doesn't matter that the beads are there. It's first blood for Oath. BennyQ now on the run. Jump in by Panatom. One more auto is needed to get the kill. He'll make it. A 1-for-1, but now how will the jungler 1v1 square up? Oath has dash. Panatom eats a minion for himself. And a trade out at the start of the game. Both the junglers on the board.
That's wild. You know what? I got to give Quig credit for that kill. He doesn't get an assist, but he dropped Bracer in mid lane, and it just disappeared. But he dropped it previously, and they were able to get the aggression for that first blood with the extra damage and movement speed. That's kind of cool. Usually you see when support starts that Bracer, they put it in their own lane. They put it over in duo, but not Quig. He gave the buff over to Oath, and Oath was able to dive tower with that extra movement speed and extra damage and confirm that kill. You saw Pagon. He's like, his face was not happy. He did not want to die there. Dropped the beads as well. And now he's going to have some pressure coming his way for the early.
I think it's something that in Season 9 when we were seeing it from the supports is typically Aurora would be the only one who would drop it in mid.
Yep.
Everybody else, just like you say, would drop it in their lane. Maybe having a brace over here would be nice for Quig at this point. He has dropped it in lane, but it's not where the action is taking place. It's a lot of damage, a lot of setup as well for Awesome Jake on this Terra. Now that that level 3 is active, 2 different forms of CC to try and lock down this duo lane.
Yep, you can see Oath goes over to left lane. Wants that shield buff, wants to get aggressive towards it. Netroid and Awesome Jake can go in for the stun, but BennyQ takes a lot of damage. Him and Pagon are scrapping in the mid lane. The dash will get him out of trouble. But Pagon doesn't take that kill lightly, right? Getting first blooded does not feel good. Usually that means your early game is just over. That's not the case. Pagon's getting aggressive with this pick, and he wants to try and climb back. He wants to get some extra farm and hopefully return a kill of his own. Not going to work out, though. BennyQ recognizes, hey, I'm going to dash away. I'm not going to take that ego fight. But Panatom is hovering over in right lane. With Eat Minion, you got a pretty good chance at that invade, but it looks like was fearing the chase down potential of Ducky and Oath, and is just going to go grab SOT's blue buff for him.
Eve Minion, as mentioned before, a pretty hefty cooldown removed off of it. In the 10.3 with the healing changes, makes his farm game so much faster, able to eat just about every camp he walks up to at this point. Though whenever Golden Blade comes on, maybe not as necessary, but definitely does feel like it expedites the farming game for Panatom. And now being the second time he's gotten this pick, the Death mentioned it as well, and I believe it was Mifflin and I who were on that set where Panatom is sitting in the enemy base waiting for the jungler to walk out to be able to grab an extra kill, really put the pressure on with this pick. So I'm keeping my eyes on Panatom this game and kind of how he begins to get his build up and his wind up against the Hounds.
Well, speaking of Panatom, I don't think I've gotten to pick your brain on this one in a bit because, you know, the Baka has been in the meta a bit. Usually Panatom has been the one going to it, but are you of the like mind that when Baka regurgitates, do you just call it the goo? What do you call it? Because you got to cast it at some point.
I try not to ever think about it because it's just gross to me. He just spits up everything he ate plus more. Just
You might have to cast it right now.
launches his bowels out at Quig
There it
just
is.
like now. Netroid, credit to the kill, but the setup for Panatom still has those Conal autos to fight up against Oath. Will eat one of the children he just threw back up. To me,
Oh.
that's the grossest part of it. It's not just the spit up of the ultimate, it's eating the child after,
Okay, you
eating the minion afterwards. Panatom, though, that's his luxury of being a Baka, can jump right over that wall to escape.
Yeah, he's got Blink, even if Oath decides to chase here. Decides not to go for it, realizes there's not much chase down. Baka should be just fine. And it looks like Oath was just going for the return kill. At the very least, Quig on this hell. Very low, and Pagon's getting dove here. Can Benny Q finish it?
Not quite. Flame Wave, I guess on cooldown at that point, just from the prior little bout. So Pagon lives maybe only by the good grace of being hit by the ability just prior. Oni Warriors start the game out 2-1. The first blood from the Eldritch Hounds is what's kept this game even. 14 gold between the two teams, 51 experience. Dead even here at 5 minutes, but not for lack of trying for both teams. Panatom has been getting very active across the map. Sod,
Ooh.
one swing away. Panatom,
Blink?
he's
There
got
it
Blink,
is.
he's got Auto, and that is a 2-0-1 Baka.
I really thought the one tick of Pillar of Agony might do it, but the Blink from Panatom was able to confirm that kill. You set a 2-0-1 on this Bakasura. Not a great look for all the characters. Oh my goodness, Pagon just cannot step up at all. This Agni just does so much damage. The Divine Ruin start is enough AoE to just make sure that this Tiamat is staying underneath tower and very weak. But as I was saying, 2-0-1, this Baka, to all the members on the Eldritch Hound that have a dash, that don't want to get caught out, and that's just about everyone except for Quig, you don't like seeing Baka get ahead early. Your late game starts to look less and less appealing the more itemization Panatom is able to get. I'm curious if he decides to go into crit, because we've seen that before, but it looks like prioritizing the Blood Forge first, and then we'll decide if it's going to be the Shred or crit style of build, but more often than not, it's an early bladed Boomerang or Demon Blade. You just want to start getting those chunking auto attacks online as early as possible.
Big crit numbers go burr. Typically the name of the game now with these auto-centric junglers, which is why we're seeing Oath maybe prioritize that early crit, as you were mentioning. May have been the thought for Panatom, but already into the hidden dagger for Oath on the Nemesis. Falling a little bit behind to Panatom, but again, it's so hard that once a Bakasura starts to get that momentum rolling, once he starts to get those first couple of cams, gets that first kill or two, it's so hard to keep up with what Panatom wants to do, to where it almost feels like now Panatom is the one who dictates the pace of the entire game.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell Oath is constantly around trying to find return kills or find return ganks, but you are right. It seems like he's going to ward up and be like, oh, Baka's over there, okay, I'll go left. Baka's over and right, okay, I'll go right. But I'm undermined that you might just want to be ignoring Panatom if possible, right? Oath is saying, hey, sorry, I can't be over in solo lane, but maybe I'll look for duo. You know, I think when you're this far behind, and it's not that much, right? It's about a half a level, but when it starts to add up like this and you know you can't 1v1 the Baka, you usually want to stay on the opposite side and try and look for, you know, reverse lane pressure. Coincidentally, Oath is on the right side of the map while Panatom's over on the left. Can you look for a kill onto Sot, though? It is not going to be easy.
Stun from Ducky's ultimate. Oath uses his own. Does Sot not have the dash? Finds the fear on one, but Ducky was just standing by leisurely waiting
I lied.
with the Tallow Assault.
So easy.
Kill onto SOT. It's just as easy as that. Just stand there menacingly and you'll get a kill.
Yeah, I thought SOT would get a bigger heal off. I don't think the wave was grouped up, but take a look at Panatom. He's trying to dive coast underneath tower. He's going to save the regurgitate as long as possible. Can he chase this, though? No.
Wild hunt there. That's enough for Coast to escape the clutches of death. And look at all the little minions still chasing Coast out under the tower. He's low in HP, walking back up to try and defend his purple. Benny stunned out of his dash, rooted by Awesome Jake, the ultimate from the Terra as well. But Panatom
Ducky's
goes
here.
down because Ducky teleported to the action. Now Jake will go down to Vaporish Coast, who was still standing by all the while. And the Eldritch Hounds punishing the Oni Warriors for their overstepping at the tier 2. Now Gold Fury for the Eldritch Hounds to boot.
I mean, that is just the way that you have to play up against this Hades picks. If you have teleport and you can make that rotation, you gotta head over to left lane, and it works out perfectly. I don't think that play goes as well if Ducky's not there. You maybe kill one, but you're not killing 2 and getting the Fury. That's just not going to happen. Massive rotation. SOT is just clearing waves. And now the Eldritch Hounds in a power position. 2 kills go over to Ducky there as well. So this Guan Yu is looking a little bit stronger. It's already a difficult time landing up against Hades. He can just silence you out of your Taolu Assault. But look at this. Oh, they had Ducky here once again. You know, I said it last time. It wouldn't be easy to kill the Hades, but it seems like the full damage, you don't have that Bancroft start, which has fallen a little bit out of favor. You don't have that insta heal every time you clear the wave anymore. You get a small heal, but it's not full HP every time you're killing that wave. As Hades doesn't do enough damage to survive the gank potential between Ducky and Oath, especially if SOT's halfway up the lane.
Panatom. What's the kill that he's fishing for at the moment? Benny Q doesn't have beads for 80. Benny steps too far forward. That could be maybe a fast pick for Panatom and Pagon to dive in, especially because you do have Jake standing by. But does not seem to be the call for Panatom. Instead, it's back to farming, trying to regain that lead that he had built just earlier on. Now with the death in his name, SOT and Ducky now boxing out in solo. A nice heal for SOT. Ducky dashes away from the dash of Sot, and unfortunate for Ducky, he'll have to go back to base. Fortunate for Ducky, he already upgraded that teleport, so it's on a much shorter cooldown, and Oath will be able to buy some time, maybe some space. Sot saw it coming, turned around and gave a nice little taunt to let Oath know that he knew he was coming.
Yeah, but I respect that taunt, and the only reason is Panatom was there, right? If for some reason Oath's like, wait, this guy taunted me, I'm going in, and then Panatom shows up, that really could have started a brawl over in solo lane. Doesn't end up working out. And it looks like just an easy cooldown buff here for the Hounds. But still grouped are Panatom and Sot. They've got plenty of damage, but it's just the Nemesis shield becomes scary. You're going for that blue of him, and look at this damage. Has to use the Regurgitate defensively, and here comes Ducky. Just ulting onto SOT. They don't have the damage to dive this tower, but they're going to try.
They're going to go for Panatom. Probably a blink was there. Oath finds a huge crit on Sot under tower and will chase out Panatom. 1 kill on the right side, 1 kill in the mid as BennyQ seems to have to take down Pagon. The battle of the brothers goes to BennyQ this time around. The Eldritch Hounds have found 2.
You know, I've just been getting proven wrong time and time again today. They don't have the damage to dive this tower. Yeah, if you get that bladed boomerang crit, you're going to be just fine. Ducky tanks it up perfectly, and that's going to be 6-3 in favor of the Hounds. The gold lead's certainly not outrageous, J-Mac, but enough where the Hounds are able to dictate the pace of this game pretty convincingly. They've got pressure over and right for sure. The question is, do you have the pressure over in left lane to be able to go for the Primal Fury? If so, the Hounds should be able to get some vision and set up over on the left side of the map.
It's kind of unfortunate that we didn't get to witness the BennyQ kill right away, but the fortunate news is we do have a nice little replay that we can watch back. I was wondering if it was a solo kill or a quick rotating through, but it was just a solo kill for BennyQ. A couple of autos to end this one out. Got close, and Aegis bout between the two of them, and
16
at 16 health, 15 more than he needed. Close. BennyQ now with a kill in his column. One up against Pagon puts now the Tiamat 0-2 for the New Warriors. And this is the kind of start that the Eldritch Hounds have been needing these last few sets, or I should say at least these last couple of games they played. Remember their set yesterday? Eldritch Hounds so unwilling to play early, but now are going to maybe be forced to play early up against this Oni Warriors team. Thought Panatom might go in for a big rotation to Quig and BennyQ, but instead the Hounds, they'll start up the Primal Fury. Oni Warriors on the way. It's a 5-strong stacking. Pillar of Agony catches out 3. Quick cleanse by Quig gets them out. Primal Fury still up for battle, but Ducky finds 2 in the back line with the stun. Now go to the back as well. Dashes through. Panatom gets a heal. Bomb stun hits Netroid. A dash in by BennyQ. And Jake is all by himself. Will go down to Coast and Oath on the left side. It's the only casualty of the fight. But the Primal Fury still up for grabs for the Hounds.
Hounds should be able to grab this one for free. The rest of the Warriors are splitting off. I like the engage from Sot. It seemed like he was just going in to try and figure out what he could get down, and hopefully the team could come in after the fact, but just take way too much damage. Once he dashed out, it seemed like Oath had a call. Who should I go for? The rest of the team or Awesome Jake, who split off? And Awesome Jake was the free kill, despite taking a bit to actually burn him down. That Furry goes down, but now look at this. Pantom's got a wrap around here. The Eldritch Hounds, Netroid, able to steal away that objective. But it looks like I lied. They do get it. I'm sorry. That's easy for them. It just looked like it came in just at the right time.
Almost for Netro, but not quite. Eldritch Hounds do manage to hold on to the Pyromancer. So Pyro and a couple of Furies now for the Hounds, plus their 7 kills. Their first significant lead of the set, 4,000 gold up for the Hounds and 5,500 experience. What started out as a great early game for Panatom has now seemingly hit a bit of a brick wall now, Trelly, because Panatom hasn't been able to get active since that last death that he had. Has tried making attempts into multiple lanes, but every time he shows up, there's just a couple too many bodies standing by.
Yeah, it's just difficult to be a Baka as the first one in. I think that's the reason SOT blinks in to start the fight, right? It's like, hey, I'll get some beads down, I'll get some dashes down, then you can go in. Well, the Eldritch Hounds are just too tanky, and they're dishing out more damage. Oath has a 2-level lead and is critting. I mean, I was going to say way harder, but just infinitely harder. Panatom doesn't even have crit yet. He's trying to build into it, but that Blood Forge is such an expensive item in comparison. And when you're this far behind, you don't quite have that damage. Ducky teleports in. It looks like just to try and go for the tier 1 tower. They've got the damage, they've got the sustain, and they're going to siege forward.
Got a Runic Bomb as well if they want to use it. Won't need it. Instead, it's Ducky zoning 2. Bomb stun and coast damage as well. A lot of pressure on a Pagon, and Jake will now force a rotation from Sot, who had to walk over to the tier 2 in mid. Keep your eyes on Panatom and Oath in this fight. The wraparound from the junglers could start out a war under this tower. Panatom's got a great eye on 3. Oath as well to the back line.
Pagon's still very weak here. Oath decides not to blink under. Doesn't have beads for another 10 seconds. Could be waiting for that cooldown, but the tier 2 is still here for the Hounds, and they're looking for it.
Panatom has not moved from the jungle and will not move, especially with that tier 2 tower now falling. Eldritch Hounds grab a tier 1 tower, a tier 2. Meanwhile, Netroid did split push. Tier 1 tower in the left lane for the Oni Warriors to answer back. All that time, Panatom and Oath standing by, watching, waiting for the inevitable fight to break out. Now, Oath maybe wanted to try and fight Panatom, but with that jump over the wall and Netroid standing by, Oath will not do so. So now for the Oni Warriors, Charlie, you're down a little bit of gold. Hasn't really changed much, even despite these towers going down. Oath unable to chase that. For the Oni Warriors, where's their line in the sand to try and fight back? Do you step up to try and defend these objectives and fight there? Do you wait for level 20 before you get your items online? What's kind of that point for the Warriors?
It just seems like they're trying to catch up as much as possible. I'm thinking if you're not losing a Fire Giant, you don't really have to fight. Just trying to get some of these key item spikes online. Panatom has been falling very far behind. I think Sot doesn't quite have enough damage to be blanking in and being that threatening, considering the amount of sustain is on the side of the Eldritch Hounds. As a Hades, you know, if you go this full damage build, you have to be threatening. You have to blink in, and the enemy team is fearful of tanking up that Pillars of Agony, but it seems like Quig just cleanses heals, and they say, all right, that's it. What, is that all you got? You don't do that much damage anymore, so at the moment, it seems like the Oni Warriors are going to find neutral farm whenever possible, contest their own farm, and then sit by until they're able to grab an actual fight towards Fire Giant. But if they're not getting threatened, if the end game is not coming soon, you just got to stay back. It just seems like the Hounds are able to win the majority of these even fights. And also, Ducky has made some key rotations. This Guan is always on point.
Eldritch Hounds will take away the Oni Fury. Meanwhile, the Warriors start the Fire Giant. Quig will be the first one to this side of the map. Teleport in by Ducky to rejoin the fray, and now the Fire Giant has got to be leashed by the Oni Warriors. But now it's the Pyromancer under threat by the Hounds. Jake, a second time to try and steal an objective, but second time that he's come up just short of taking that away. And now it's the Hounds who started the Fire Giant. Oni Warriors are gotta be the ones to respond again.
SOT, the first one to step up, and Benny Q zoning with those bombs. It's already weak, and they're just gonna have to let it go.
Double crit from the Hounds proves too much for the Fire Giant. Sot can't get in to try and stop it. Pagon zoned out. Fire Giant for all 5 of the Eldritch Hounds. And with an already established lead and a few towers to still knock down, this gold could get much worse for the Hounds now.
Certainly can. The Oni Warriors are split pushing tier 1 for tier 2. 3 members of the Warriors are gone. I'm thinking the Hounds should step up towards this Phoenix. At least 2 back up. The Panatom is still gone. This seems like a very hard defense to try and make without your jungler.
Panatom has not backed yet. Coast stunned under the tower. Big fear and a dash away now for Coast, because SOT is putting a lot of threat towards these backliners. It was a tier 2 for tier 1. Now at a tier 2, as Panatom will split push that one away. And no response from the Eldritch Hounds. Everything they need to now siege outside of Birds is on the opposite side of the map. Maybe a pick on a Jake. Could have started things out, but the Eldritch Hounds, not quite enough damage and not enough lockdown.
Yeah, it ends up being worth it there for the Warriors at the very least, because the Phoenix does not drop. I think grouping up there was a bit of a problem. Awesome Jake finds a good stun, and then Sot was able to get a 2-man fear. And that's going to stop the Phoenix siege at the very least. The Eldritch Hounds still getting the better end of these trades. They've got Fire Giant on 5. Still a tier 1 and a tier 2 to go through on the left side of the map, but besides that, most of the gold-giving structures are already gone, which means the lead that they have accumulated so far is not going to skyrocket. It's not going to be 10K by the end of this siege unless, you know, a disastrous wipe happens. But Panatom was able to find some split push. He was able to find some good farm, which I think he desperately needed this Baka. Still is not back, though. 3K gold in hand just about. Pagon has about that much as well. They're trying to hit some power spikes before they go on for a true defense, and it's necessary. I mean, Panatom doesn't have enough damage to really out-trade Oath, and it seems like that's who he's going to be having to fight in the backline more often than not. But tier 2 over on left starts to get looked at, and it's going to drop within 2 seconds.
The Oni Warriors not willing to step up to defend or at least a tower, but Phoenix at least still defendable. We even saw there was a 4v5 defense. Joe, I remember Panatom wasn't not a part of that Phoenix siege at all. On the right side of the map, it was just Sot dashing up, finding a fear, and a detonate immediately afterwards just to get some big damage on the coast, and that was enough to threaten the Eldritch Hounds, or at least maybe for the Hounds respecting the damage that Sot has now, 3 items deep into the build. But is that going to be enough? Is this Hades maybe enough of a threat for the Oni Warriors on these Phoenix sieges, or do the Warriors still need a little bit more to stop the Hounds?
I don't think Hades is enough. Not 3-item Hades, and look at who's supplying the DPS in the backline. Pagon has been able to find some decent farm. He's got 4 items, but Netroid only has 1,400 in hand. I mean, the items that you see, that's what you get. He's got Boomerang, Deathbringer, and a Bloodforge. That's all this Iza can provide at the moment. It's not that much damage when you look at Vaporous Coast, who has essentially the same build, but an extra crit item, a full Demon Blade in tow, that does start to add up. So it doesn't seem like the Oni Warriors are going to be able to step up. Phoenix fight is the only thing they have going for them. It ends up working well if they can stack their CC, but that can all be stopped if the Eldritch Hounds don't group up fully. If it's not a 5v5, if they do a 4-2 split, all of which could really help out their siege potential.
It's the Eldritch Hounds with their Fire Giant. They take 3 towers and a Fury. Now a Pyromancer right at the tail end of it to spike up their lead. Not too heavily, though. There was about 5,000 before going in with that fire. Now sitting around that 8K mark just because of the split pushing done by Panatom and some of the other members of the Oni Warriors. Netroid as well was able to get a tier 1. The Oni Warriors, they're not even concerned about this Fire Giant. That or they don't even recognize that it's happening at this point. The Eldritch Hounds will get fire on all 5 once again. No contest from them with Ducky backing. No split push from Netroid and Jake this time around. Only a couple members hitting level 20 on the Warriors, waiting to upgrade their starter items. Pagon finally got the gold to do so. Panatom still a little gold away from being able to upgrade that eye. So jungle fights maybe not the most beneficial for Panatom if he squares off against Oath. But the defense seems to be where the Oni Warriors have to put a lot of their eggs in this basket at least.
Yeah, it just seems like regular Fire Giant is not that contestable anymore. If you're this far behind and you realize it's not enhanced, most teams are just letting it go. They're saying, hey, we'll fight for EFG. They still have to try and siege with a regular Fire Giant into our Phoenix. We'd rather get farm, and I think that is the correct play here. Netroid is able to get a tier 2 dominance, but still, we haven't seen a power spike since we last mentioned it. It's so much harder as an Iza to be able to split push like this. Panatom's got the movement speed, he can run away, and look at this, Oath is actually hunting Panatom. This should be a 1v1.
Dash or a blink over, ultimate from Panatom to try and slow things down. A beads from Panatom, but where was his jump? Did he just not have it available to get over the wall? Oath finds a solo kill up against Panatom, and now it simplifies the game a bit for the Hounds. It's 45 seconds till Panatom's back up.
Yeah, it's a 1v1, you're never gonna win. That shield, as long as it eats 1 or 2 auto attacks, that's absolute free. At the very least, Oath is over in right lane, and it's up to the Warriors to try and keep this Phoenix alive, but it's burning quick.
He's got to dash away from the tornado of Pagon. Bombs from BennyQ. Not quite a few of them connecting yet, but once they do, you see nearly 600 damage to Awesome Jake that BennyQ's able to land out there with just a single bomb. Throw out another. Remember, that's the tank that's getting hit for that hard. Can't imagine what it's doing to the carries.
Yep, now they siege forward once again. Ducky gonna eat the brunt of this CC, but it looks like the Phoenix is still the target here. But able to find the kill. Oath gets right lane for free. That's uncontested, but the left side bird is still the target, and it's got about 20%.
Panatom's back up, but Phoenix is down. Man, these bombs from Benny are going crazy for the damage. 800 plus he's hitting Pagon and some of the other carries of the Oni Warriors. 2 Phoenixes off the Fire Giant, plus 1 kill for the Eldritch Hounds. Now they can wait for their minion wave in mid to try and siege the 3rd and final bird.
Gonna step up. Oath doesn't quite have that ultimate back up yet, but Panatom does. It's still so difficult. You can see BennyQ just half-healthing everyone in his path. And Ducky sieges forward. No one does damage to Ducky either. He's able to tank all of this damage up with no problem. Look at the sustain on the side of the Hounds. If their health bars changed at all.
Heal from Quig, double heal from Quig, and then Ducky pops his, and all of a sudden the heals are right back online for Quig once again. But with only a couple seconds left on their Fire Giant, the Eldritch Hounds will back away, now with it fading. So for the Oni Warriors, the Phoenix Siege didn't go as well as they'd hoped. The bombs from BennyQ really reigning true during that fight. 600 to 900 damage averaging between the players. So if the Phoenix Sieges aren't working now, Charlie, is this the call for the Oni Warriors to step into the jungle, try and bring the fight to the Eldritch Hounds at this next fire?
I wouldn't. I don't think you step
up. Oh, no.
I don't think you can step up at all. I think you're sitting in base, unless, of course, you find an unfair fight where it's a 5v4 or a 5v3, or you just get a pick in the jungle. But 5v5 in the jungle, you're not running away. They've got too much movement speed. Quig drops that bracer, starts healing. You're not retreating. You are either fighting or dying, and just itemization alone tells you that the Oni Warriors are not able to scrap with what the Eldritch Hounds have done so far. BennyQ was able to finish a Soul Reaver, so if you thought he was chunking before, wait until you see these bombs. And now the left side of the map, Netroid at the very least is finding some split push time. This is what I was waiting for. You need Iza, you need burst, you need to be able to crit, because the sustained fights with all of this healing is clearly not working out for the Oni Warriors. They need to find those burst kills, and they just don't have that much burst with this draft. If SOT was a little bit more online, maybe you have that option. The Oni Warriors are running, though. They know they got one more bird, and once again, Panatom was trying to go for the back door play, but Ducky stops it in its tracks.
Ducky recognizing that Netroid had attempted a split push before, goes back, but instead of finding Netroid, didn't even find Panatom. He was sitting inside the jungle waiting to go in with that wave, but then spots Ducky out. Ducky does have teleport. He can rejoin the Hounds at any point to start up this next siege. Oath just going to go ahead and push up some extra minions that are pushed all the way to the tier 2. My goodness, the damage output from BennyQ. He started that left Phoenix siege, by the way, Charlie, with 15,000 player damage. He has done nearly 10k in these last 3 to 5 minutes of this game. This Agni damage is getting a bit unbearable for the Oni Warriors.
Finally, they've got the full grouping here. Oath and Ducky weren't even around in time for that scrap. Now they're here. And someone's going to have to deal with the side lanes. You can see Baka's over and right, and Oath wrapping around left lane. This could be the end game fight here.
Jake stunned. Tornado now out by Pagon to try and zone away. Oath wants the collapse to the back line of the Oni Warriors. The Eldritch Hounds, they've got 4 strong. BennyQ waiting for some of those bombs to come back up. Mobility has to be used by the Warriors just to escape the bombs, because look how much damage BennyQ is doing. The Oni Warriors They can't even step up beyond the portal rock where the minions come in to step up and defend.
Left side bird spawning in. Oath already locked in and ready for it. The rest of the team seems to be okay with giving this up. The Oni Warriors said, hey, our Titan, that's what we defend, nothing else. Because Benny Q is in range of trying to go for the defense here. Sot's gonna step up, but into what?
Ultimate from Oath, a couple of bombs from Benny, and back to the fountain goes SOT. Still has Blink, still has beads. Initiation and CC immunity available to the Hades. Jake finds 3 on the route. Panatom goes to the backline, tries to fight in a crit battle, but he ends up taking down 1. Sot picks up an extra 1. It's 3 down for the Eldritch Hounds, and everything is turned sideways now. It's Quig and Ducky on the run. It's only the frontliners left alive, but this is a long, long kill to Quig. Meanwhile, Ducky able to make it back out, but because of the state of the base of the Oni Warriors, all they can do is find those 4 picks.
If they find those picks, Netroid's going to be able to push out right lane, but all that happens because of the grouping. The Eldritch Hounds, they all squatted up as a 5-man unit to walk through that Phoenix, and because of that, Awesome Jake gets some nice CC. They all have to dash away, and right into the waiting arms of Panatom. 3 crits were able to destroy like 3 members of the Eldritch Hounds. SOT ends up dying, but gets some massive damage off as well, and I think at this point, that is going to go a big way. I talked about power spikes. They need more damage. This stalls the game out a bit. They're able to push up right. They're able to push up left. You got the Tiamat Lizards that are going to help clear out some of these waves as well. It's not going to put you back into the game. You're still 10k gold down. You're still upgraded relics 3k pod status down. But the Oni Warriors have shown that they can fight back if given the right situation. If the Eldritch Hounds make a blunder and group up with all this AoE damage that the Warriors have, they can certainly fall. And Benny Q's got no relics for their 90 seconds. I think Panatom's got a target. Let's find this Agni before the next fight, if possible. 1 to 2 autos with that ultimate, and this Agni could be gone.
Oni Warriors defend the weakened Phoenix of the right side. As mentioned, by great setup for Awesome Jake, for SOT and Panatom to double ult and double combo in on top. The Warriors took out 4 of the Hounds and now have that confidence to step up to the fire. This is the first time the Warriors have stepped up to defend this one. But SOT, bomb stun is there. Ducky will just bat away at the health, and Benny Q will drop the last of it with an extra bomb. Eldritch Hounds find a big pick on SOT. Now 55 seconds until he is back up, and Oni fire waves pushing up left. The Eldritch Hounds have plenty of time to wait around fire.
Panatom's got the wraparound, though. Who's he looking for? He doesn't want to find Oath. He wants Benny Q, but he stepped over a ward, and now they're all chasing him down.
Ducky forced away, had to ult to get out of the 3-man, but it's all to buy time. Eldritch Hounds can jump back right into the Fire Giant pit. Somebody has to go back to base here shortly because the minions are about to push in towards the Titan. Panatom is still pushing up mid. Somebody's got to go back. Sot's up in 18 seconds. Pagon does go back. Fire Giant for the Eldritch Hound, and now a full-on defense needed for the Oni Warriors.
This is way different. Enhanced Fire Giant is a completely different beast that the Eldritch Hounds have got for themselves. 1 Phoenix left, but mid and left spawning here shortly. If the Oni Warriors want to defend, they need to do it before these Phoenixes drop. Panatom's over and left. It seems like that's not their call. They're going to let these Phoenixes go down. They're going to keep the Titan alive and then try and group up for a fight. I do like the wraparound here. This is what worked last time. Who's going to spot it out? No one yet. Panatom is still in the jungle as this mid-bird spawns in.
One final fire wave to come in along with it, but the Phoenix will drop and leave the fire minion ways to go through. Panatom has found Coast, but immediately a turn and burn back to Panatom. Bomb stun from Benny Q, not quite enough to take out Panatom. The left side bird respawns. The left side bird falls to the ashes once more. Another bomb onto Netroid and Jake. Another one. 700 damage from Benny Q from a single one. SOT locks in 3, and he's doing a lot of damage back. Quig has fallen, and so has Coast. The Eldritch Hounds are just sticking around for way too long. Could Benny Q find the kill he's looking for? Pagon goes down to the burn of Benny, but Netroid has found the double kill. Oath and Ducky still alive. But the Hounds, Charlie, it just feels like they're staying too long on these sieges.
And what can the Oni Warriors get in the meantime? They have 3 Phoenixes down. They're able to group up and push up mid lane and left. You lost Pagon, though. The Tiamat Lizards are not going to be able to help you out. And Ducky and Oath the only ones left here for the Hounds. It was such a beautiful play to start it out. The Pagon's Tornado ends up pushing Coast all the way over into the jungle, right into the waiting arms of Panatom, but Oath is there, is able to help save his ADC. And look at this play. They're trying to find Oath here. I don't think they've got the damage to kill this Nemesis, but Netroid has the damage to kill a tier 2 tower. Is that all they get? You stop the EFG 34 minutes into the game, and you get a tier 2 tower and maybe a runic bomb for your troubles. The Oni Warriors have had 2 very clutch stops that are difficult to do, but the map state is not looking any better for them. They still have to come back from 3 Phoenixes down, and what was a 14,000 gold lead, it is now 8,000. But I'm just wondering, how much worse can it really get? When your 3 Phoenixes are down, the only misplay you could really make at this point is if the Eldritch Hounds get wiped again. They don't have relics for a bit, but it looks like they are still stepping up. Oath still feeling extremely confident.
Oh, they're waiting for that moment. Oath goes through. One more crit would have been there. Dash in. The Lizards block Oath's path. And Panatom can blink away. But
That's just big brain for Pagon. He knew that was coming.
Yeah, he expected it.
Yeah, he's like, wait, obviously you're going to fight a green buff, so I'm going to preemptively place these Lizards here just in case you need to blink away, and I can body block for you. And you know what? That's why Pagon, that's why he's earning the big bucks,
That's why he's pay God.
Yep, exactly.
The Eldritch Hounds, though. Fire Giant back up in 50 seconds. That's got to be where the Hounds put their priority. Once more. This would be 5th Fire Giant of the game for the Eldritch Hounds at this point, be 2nd enhanced. And still the Oni Warriors are able to hold back. They're not able to defend the Phoenixes necessarily for the Warriors, but they're able to get the team fights after, and that has delayed this game. I would say about 10 minutes now, Trell, because 10 minutes ago is nearly 3 Phoenixes down. Eldritch Hounds make a bit of a blunder at the right side Phoenix, don't take the bird, lose 4, and the Oni Warriors defend there.
I just saw the gold lead. I mean, there was 3 3K pots in tow for the Eldritch Hounds. The gold lead was just sitting there in their consumables. That is the entirety of that lead. Benny Q popped it. There, Oath popped his, and now Coast pops his. There you go. The gold lead is now in tow with how much damage they are able to do. We see the Oni Warriors grouped on left. They're finally going to go back, and let's see if they can make the miracle play once again. Ducky knows there's probably a split push on the way. He heads back to base to make sure Panatom has to go join his team.
Right Phoenix active. Mid on the way. Enhanced Fire Giant. We were here about 5 minutes ago, Trelly, and we'll start it up once more for the Eldritch Hounds. 30 seconds of their buff, already gone. Benny Q needs a little bit of sustain from Ducky and Quig before he's willing to step up. All relics available besides Ducky's teleport. Oath versus Panatom and Sod. A quick dive out. Oath can't get the blink off. It's a 2 versus 1 that goes for the Oni Warriors. Right side Phoenix again will fall down. The Eldritch Hounds have been slowed once more by the Warriors. They still get the bird, but it's the only one they can get for now.
But that's a massive stop. That means the left and mid Phoenix, at least for now, are going to stay up. SOT at red buff, I think spots that out and is able to run away here. But there are still 4 strong in mid lane. You got to get at least 1 more Phoenix here if you're the Eldritch Hounds. You don't have Oath for 35 seconds, and it looks like they don't want to go for the push without their jungler. They just stepped over a ward, 4 strong. This could be bad for them. But Panatom doesn't seem to make the rotation over, and they're trying to find a fight here.
Awesome Jake finds a root on 2, tries to keep the fight going, but the bombs are raining through to the back line. Jake is being crit by Vapor's Coast. Dark Portal off the mark. Sot finds one of the old Panatom wrapping around. He's got ultimate back. Vapor's Coast is going down. Quig is gone too. That's 3 out of the fight. Make that 4. Panatom has gone massive in this fight. It is 4 down for the Hounds. Only Oath and Ducky still alive, who will now have to defend against the weight of the Oni Warriors.
Oath does have blink, though. He's got plenty of damage. He could just one-shot a few of these targets. There's one, and he's able to get stunned. He's dead. I thought maybe he could dash out, but Awesome Jake is not asleep at the wheel. He gets the clutch stun and stops that in its tracks.
Netroid confused as to what he had just witnessed. But this is a very slow Phoenix for the Oni Warriors. Once the minions finally get there, it's much faster paced. It's Ducky versus 3. Does he have enough
They
to
should.
stop here? That's 20 seconds until Quick and
This should
Coaster
be
back
game.
up. Netroid walks right in. Ducky up on the cavalry. Netroid will dash away. It is all up to Ducky against the war because SOT has come back through the Oni Warriors in one fell swoop thanks to the help of SOT, of Panatom, and of Jake. They turn that back around. And despite 7 Furies, 5 Fire Giants, it is not enough for the Hounds.
Man, I don't know if I'd call it one foul swoop. That was 3 separate sieges that were all stopped. That's 3 Phoenixes down. It is so difficult to come back from a 3 Phoenix down situation. And I think the Hounds, besides the actual siege, played everything quite well. Ducky kept going back and saying, hey, I'm going to stop the split push, then I'll join with you guys. It just seemed like grouping up, SOT and Awesome Jake were getting so much value with their CC because they were so tightly knit together. Phantom was always wrapping around waiting for someone, usually Vaporish Coast or the carries, just to wrap around into him. It is not easy to come back from that situation, but stopping 1 Fire Giant, 1 Enhanced Fire Giant, and the Fire Giant even before that was enough to finally get them enough to push back in and make that end call.
Well, it started with 1 blunder on the right side, Phoenix, that turned into another blunder and another, and then that's now tumbled into a full-on fumble.
Yep.
The Oni Warriors stop the Eldritch Hounds in game number 2. They take the set 2-0 to win this one out. That's it for Charlie on the Castle. Throw it to the desk to break it down.
My goodness, this Oni Warriors team, they just keep finding ways to win. Now, improved to 2-0 in Season 10 of the Smite Pro League. I'm looking at you for confirmation, hoping that you know better than I do. Yeah, the 2-0 now in Season 10 of the Smite Pro League. Again, they dropped 1 game just the other, or no, I'm thinking of the Hounds who beat the Ravens in 1 game, unable to beat the Oni Warriors in either of the 2 games here in this set. Though, probably make the argument that here in Game 2, Gore, the Hounds should have won. They had 3 separate chances. They had a bunch of sieges. They had 3 Phoenixes down.
Yeah.
Things were looking great until the very end there for the
They
for the Hounds.
won 93% of a Smite game there, man.
Right.
I mean, you're talking Phoenix Sieges, J-Mac had mentioned it, the Gold Furies, the Fire Giants, like, there's so much in the favor of the Hounds. They won 93% of the Smite game. Oof. Unfortunately for them, and you're going to see it, just the jumps, right? Suddenly you're at 29 minutes, and then you're at 33 minutes. The fights late game just were not clean enough. All your Phoenixes are down. You don't even care in that kind of instant because you are so focused on trying to deal with these at the moment, at the time, and you're getting a lot done. And it's these 3-for-1 trades that just so heavily end up favoring the Warriors. And it's late enough that you've lasted just as long as you need to. I mean, you see the Izanami, Netroid just swinging super hard with crit. A lot of their play, I mean, it's just the team fight, right? And it's the same thing if you think about it. What was going wrong in some of the other games, it just took a little longer for it to start going wrong there for the Hounds. I mean, well played, 404 score not found there for Netroid. Not a glamorous amount of KDs, things like that. But the damage numbers, I mean, you get 40,000 out of the Tiamat, which is only 10k lower than the Agni, who had been winning most of the game.
50k.
Again, this is a team, I think, in the Warriors, that just shows resilience, right? That just showcases that they're not sitting back. There's even a point where they were willing to step up and try to defend the Fire Giant, despite the fact that their Phoenixes are broken.